And you're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Block 6 of our Quilt Along 2022 sampler. Um,
9 people beat us here.
9 people beat us here. We've been anxious. See, you missed 1 week for a vacation, and we can't wait to get back. So let's just jump in right away. So the very first thing I did, I'm going to get Tiff to swing the camera. So when I tried to decide on my and because I want to use lots of scraps, but I are my fat quarter bundle. I want to use lots of the different fabrics, and I want to make sure that I'm not using my favorite one on every single block. So when I looked at these, I decided that I have none yet. I have none yet with the. So that is what I am going to be using today. And also I have a lot with the single backgrounds. So I decided I am going to use two of the backgrounds. So let's swing around. So if you, anybody had printed out our original pattern, this is where I said things were subject to change. And this is what we did. We changed this block up. It was very similar to the sawtooth star that we did before. So we decided that we were going to change it up. I want to be able to share something different with you every week. So this week, we're going to be making what we call a combination unit, and we're going to be doing strip piecing. That's why I always said nothing is written in stone, including the instructions that I sent out first thing this morning. The very first pattern that I sent out, I had said you needed to cut 4 of the purple squares for our combination units and 4 of the background. That was in error. We only need 2 of each. So if you haven't cut them yet, yay. The new instructions are up there, but that's the only difference that we had to do. We cut a couple extra blocks. So my fabrics are these, and Tiffany has chosen these ones for this week. I hope that quality is a little bit better than what it was last week or 2 weeks ago when we did it. How's it going? Just checking.
Sound. Sure whether that's the internet or because you were facing.
I was facing away from the microphone. I'm going to try to remember not to do that, but it was just to show you the blocks behind. So we're hoping that now it's going to work a little bit better. Sharon says no sound and the picture is really bad. Our internet, I don't know about you, but even at home, Espinola's internet has been crazy bad lately. So I'm really hoping that this is going to work for us.
And as always, the video will be posted up after the fact as well. And those videos seem to have better quality.
Yeah. We will double check again the videos. Hopefully we don't have to redo our blocks to put them up on YouTube a little bit better.
Some people are saying the sound and picture are okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it is just internet then. Some people's internet are better than others.
Espinola's internet has been crazy awful lately. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not the tech person. So we are on block 6. That means we're halfway through. So this is going to be our midterm exam. The first section that we're going to be doing is this checkerboard unit that's in the center. So this is really going to test our 1/4 inch seams. We could cut little 2-inch squares and sew them all together to make this block. But what we're going to do today is what we call strip piecing. So I am going to sew my strips together first and then subcut again and then sew them back together. So life is going to be a little bit easier. Alrighty. I'm just going to grab my ironing board because I'm just going to put a new product in here. We touched on it briefly before. When people are sewing strips together and we put a few pins, a lot of times in between the pins, our fabric will shift. So we could either put pins every inch but that's a little bit difficult to sew through. Or I have this wonderful product here by Acorn Precision Piecing Product, and it's called Seam Align Glue. I love it when I'm doing strip piecing like this with small pieces. I love it. Some people use it a lot putting borders on a quilt. It's those things that we pin and that they shift a bit. This will help from that from happening. What I can do with this is I can put this little drop of glue every inch or so along our strip. I'm just going to go halfway for now. I am going to align my edge perfectly aligned up with the edge of my other fabric. And I am just going to hit this with the iron. Whoops. Until my glue is dry. So you can see that it's now stuck. I can literally pull this stuff apart and there is absolutely no residue behind. When we pull it apart, it will not stick back together again. We would have to re-glue. There is no sticky residue that's going to get stuck on our needle. There's nothing to make the seam heavy because we have used things like white glue or Elmer's glue. We've used children's glue stick. Again, it gives you that stickiness that can gum up our needle. It'll give us a thickness of the actual glue in our seam, and this does not happen. If I pulled this apart right now, it would be like as if there's nothing there. So now that I have my strip glued, it's absolutely perfectly lined up. And so really doesn't matter what would help if I
1 sec.
Help if you sew the side that I says it really doesn't matter what side you sew, but it would help to sew on the side that I glued. I'm just going to sew with my needle in the down position. I'm still not going to let that fabric slide through my hand. I am going to guide it. Again, when you get to the end, remember to hold it from going. It's always going to want to slide sideways. We want to make sure we guide it with our finger to stay where we want it to be. Now I'm going to press it. Let's just move this out of my way here for a minute. I'm going to press it towards the dark. Again, you can hardly see it there now, but I did have a line on my mat that I drew that I could keep my strip nice and straight. I want to make sure that this stays as straight as I can, that it doesn't turn into a boomerang. So I've set my seam. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to lay the bottom of my strip here on that line that I drew. Opening it with my fingers. And I think I have steam on there. I do. I want to make sure my steam is off. I don't want to sew any boomerangs in there. So now on our block, you can see that it's 4 pieces across. All I'm going to do with this strip is I'm going to cut it in half. I could actually just take a pair of scissors and I could cut, or I could use my ruler and just cut it in half. Now I'm going to sew these 2 units together. Again, I'm going to use my glue. Just makes my job a little bit easier. White to the purple. Just going to press that so our glue dries. We could leave it sit and dry, but I like to speed up the process. And let's sew that seam. Again, we want to press towards our purple. So I'm going to set that seam. Or press towards our dark. I guess you're not necessarily using purple fabric. So if we look at the back, our seams are always going towards the purple. So they're not all going in one direction. We could do that as well, but it just works a little bit better in my mind to press towards the dark. And then I won't have any color bleeding through or showing through to the other side. So there is our unit. Now, if we check this unit, it has to be 6.5 inches. And if we can check this at a few different spots, just to make sure that we are spot on. Now we have to cut this down into the units that we need for our block. Couple ways to trim the edge. I can take a line of my ruler and I can put it on a seam and I can cut backwards. That bothers a few people, which understandably you shouldn't be doing that so much. Here's the best tip. If we turn it this way and cut it off, we can do that. And then when we flip it back again, it could go a little wonky. So here's the coolest thing to do. Take a ruler, and because we want to make sure that our seams stay straight, that's what we're going to be using to align up our ruler. I have to stand up, I can't see. So now I've aligned up 2 lines on my unit. So everything's nice and straight. I can take my next ruler. I can just butt it up here. Move this one out of the way and cut. So I have a perfectly cut edge without having to move any rulers. Now, because our strips were 2 inches, we are going to cut our units into 2-inch widths, and I need 4 of them. Again, line on our block, our line just to say it's on top of our fabric. There's one. Just trying to, it just got that big blob in there. I was hoping that you can see that I'm cutting the halves, and then it makes it difficult. My lines. Remember, if these lines start going wonky, not a big issue. We have some fudge room. We're just going to trim that edge up again. So there's 2. Three. And 4. So there's our 4 units. All we're going to do is take every other one. We're going to flip it. Because my brain works a little bit better, I like to do it this way. So our seams will automatically butt in opposite directions because they're going towards the dark. Now, because these are seams, I do like to pin and make sure that they're butted up nicely. Or you could also use your seam align glue if that's your preferred method. Again, I'm rolling this seam. I can feel a real lump in there. I don't know if you can see it, how clear it is, but you can see that my seam is not lined up. It's overlapping a little bit, and I can feel a real bump there. So if I just wiggle them until it's nice and smooth and flat, it fits really nicely. My seam should be aligned. Want to make sure my end pieces are lined up nice and straight as well. And we can even try, let's try this one, see how well it works. We're just going to use the seam align glue. Make sure that that seam is aligned up with no bump. Okay, make sure your seams from the bottom are in the right proper direction so they don't get any little foldy overs. So here's the one that I pinned. Looks pretty good. Here's the one that I glued. Looks pretty good.
I had a pin in my pocket.
You had a pin in your pocket?
I don't know how it got there.
Okay. I could sew them together first and then press, but it's a little easier if we press at this time, and it doesn't matter which direction that we press this side seam in.
Leanne says she watched a YouTube video by the people from Acorn on the Pins in a Bottle product, and it was really informative. I guess we'll have to check it out.
Cool. We'll have to check it out. Thanks, Leanne. But I do love this Pins in Bottle, and I think they're from, it just says made in Canada. I think they're from Calgary or Midwest, and I like how that worked.
Oh yeah, unlike me, you can't hit a pin while you're sewing.
Exactly. So we had to change the needle on our sewing machine because when Tiff was doing her sample block, her block this morning, making sure that my pattern was correct, she hit a pin. This way, I'm not going to have that happen. If you ever have to sew 2 pieces of fabric, matching them together to get a shape so you can't see the seam, this is instrumental in doing that. I love this product. So where is my 6.5-inch ruler? All right, so here's your midterm, ladies. Make sure you've got all those little points that are matching, and our full block measures 6.5. Phew. That's always the worried part about live, right? You can't grab your next block and throw it in there and say, see, this is what I did. So 6.5 inches, all those beautiful little points. Post your center block. Let me see online. Alrighty, so there's our center.
Don't think they can post pictures in the chat.
No, they can't post in chat, only on the Facebook page. All right, so now we're going to make our combination units. So I need our blue corners, our background, and our other color. Cells organized here. All right, traditionally, most patterns would tell you to cut your, how do we see? Right here?
Wherever you want me to see.
Okay. So most traditional patterns would tell you to do these exact sizes, cut 3 triangles, sew that one together, sew on there. Again, working with bias, sewing exact, you know, that's not where my brain is. What I want to do is make them oversized. This is one of the very favorite things to use the checker trimmer ruler for. So even if you're making this unit in a pattern, there is a chart in the Tucker Trimmer paper, and it will tell you, it's over there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It will tell you exactly what to cut. So when I wrote out down your instructions, this is where I went. So here's our chart, and you can see the finished size of our pieces. So we knew that our finished sizes are 3-inch finished. If it was a square, it would be cut 3.5. I can go down here for half square triangles, and then there's the squares, the starter squares for the combination unit. We want to cut at 4.5. And that's going to give us that little fudge room. So even if you have a pattern, again, we're going to look at our pattern, change things to do it the way we want to do it. We're going to go to the chart and figure out our cutting. So we're going to throw those away because I'm not going to do those. So first off, first thing to do is our center block. And to me, it is the background and the purple. So what I'm going to do is, again, draw as if we were doing half square triangles. We're going to draw a line, either one line, or we are going to take our magic wand and draw on both sides. And we're going to layer those right side together with our purples. And off we go and sew. You should all be old hands at this now. Okay, this is really hard to see because I don't have the center line.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I was sewing in this method, I would actually literally use a clear foot or one that has a center line that I could see a little bit better. But we're just going to fudge it through here.
Luckily, you have square room.
I do. That's why I'm not worried about it so much. Now we're going to cut those in half. And we are going to press our seam towards the dark. So now on the back of these units, we're going to draw another line. Again, either way, whether it's on both sides of our magic wand or just from corner to corner through the center. And because I have that 1 foot on, I am just going to draw the one line. This block's a little smaller. We could have probably got away with the diagonal seam tape as well instead of drawing. If you have that in your toolbox. Now I am going to take these half square triangles and I am going to align them with our larger block. Because we have that seam allowance in there now, the other block is a little bit bigger. Not a big deal. It's just going to be trimmed up when we trim up our block. So I'm just going to eyeball center it. Don't worry about having to measure exactly the same amount on either side. We don't have to be that accurate. Any questions or anything? Everybody's an old hand now. One, I'm just going to leave that in there. Going to get my next one ready. Two more. Whoops. Oops. Oh, Tiffany, you wouldn't understand that, but just when I said two more and I'm thinking one more, I remember those Richard Simmons Sweating to the Oldies ones? And he would stand there and he would go, 3 more, 2 more, 1 more.
I remember those. You had one on VHS.
I do, yeah. That was back in...
We do have a question. What are you using to make your markings on your fabric?
I like using the friction marker for this. I can see it. It's really nice and dark. I can see it on, medium to light fabrics. I do not use that marker if I'm marking on the right side of the fabric, but I do like it on this, on the back. So they do iron off. Once I iron it, the line is gone, but it could have that opportunity to come back. I could also use just an old-fashioned mechanical pencil on this line as well. Again, not on the front, but on the back. You could use whichever you want. Some people will even use an ultrafine Sharpie marker if they have visibility problems. Because it's right on the edge of our seam, it's not going to show. Good question.
You want to draw on both sides right where your is going with a Sharpie marker. But if you were drawing just down the center, you could get away with Sharpie. Yeah.
There we go. There's our 4 units. I'm going to cut this one apart. Now from each set, from each unit, you will get 1 block with our dark fabric on the top and 1 dark block with our dark fabric on the bottom. So we're just going to keep those separate. We're going to press them and we're going to cut them apart and we're going to press them. This time, because there's a seam there, we are going to press our seam towards our large fabric because that's the way it's going to want to go anyways. So why fight it? So I am just going to make 2 different piles here. There. And 4. I'm going to flip them over because I want to iron towards my large triangle. I'm going to have that on the top. One, 2. This one's going to want to flip, make sure that it stays in the direction that we want it to go. 3. So there's our first set.
So while you're doing that, you can answer, what product would you use for marking on the right side of the fabric?
Yes, good question. I like one of 2 different things. If it's dark fabric, I like white chalk, whether it be a mechanical pencil. That's a thick chalk. I like the Bohan pens, or Clover makes a white gel pen that irons off. So that's these 2 are chalk. And then I don't know if I have one out.
Keep ironing all up.
Okay. There's also a white marker that is literally liquid chalk. Yeah, that's it.
This one, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Perfect. So if you've ever tried to use this and you try to mark it on dark fabric, give it a minute. The ink only shows, or the chalk only shows up after it dries because it's a liquid chalk in there. So the first time we used it, we thought that it didn't work. And then as it sat, our lines magically appeared. So if it's dark fabric, that's what I like. Or if it is a lighter fabric, I love the blue wash away. There's a few different kinds. This one that we carry by Sewline is a ballpoint marker. And then there's a Clover Mark Begone blue. Yep, that one. Oh, that's an air erase. These are air erase. The Mark Begones or blue. So the blue is always water soluble wash away lines. There it is. Thank you. And I like those best on the light fabrics. Blue lines can also get heat set into a car. Or sorry, they can get heat set into your fabric. So even if I have a customer quilt and I'm using these lines, I make sure the lines are out of there as soon as I can get them out. So I'll mark my lines. I'll quilt them if I'm doing arming, and then I will take them out either with a wet face cloth. You could use a spritzer, because I don't know if some people's fabric are going to run. I like using this Soline water eraser. It's literally a syringe. You fill it full of water with a felt tip, and I can erase the lines right away. So even if somebody picked up their quilt and they were going to the grocery store in the summertime, it's 40 degrees in the car, I know that these lines are not going to be heat set into it. I have also used the air erase markers, but be careful with those. You can heat set those in as well. Give it a try. If you use the air erase marker on fabric and leave it sit for about 15, 20 minutes, depends on the humidity in your room. In the wintertime, it lasts a little bit longer. It will disappear. If you hit them with an iron, sometimes they can come back. So they're not totally gone. They're not evaporated out of your fabric. So it still has to be washed after the fact. So and then again, if I'm just really slow on the take, I don't want my lines to disappear before I get to sew them. So this is my choice when I mark on the top. Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, so let's square up. I am going to square these units up according to my paper. We're squaring them up to 3.5 by 3.5. First off, I am going to do one with the regular ruler. So we have to do some math.
Your corner's broken.
Oh, it is broken. Okay, I'll have to be careful on that.
Use your half side anyway.
Okay. So we are going to want to square up to the 3.5 by the 3.5. I do have a diagonal line to line up with my ruler, but I want to make sure that this point right there stays exactly in the center of my block. That means I have to do some math. So half of 3.5 is 1.5 1/4, so 1 3/4. I have to find the 1 3/4 inch line on my, that's where I have issues on 1 3/4. So that's that little chicken foot right there to my center mark. So I have my diagonal on my long diagonal seam, my 1 3/4 line pointing right to my center, and I have fabric all the way around, so I can square up. One side, two sides, perfect corner, upper right, flip it to the bottom left. I'm going to line up my 3.5 and my 3.5. My diagonal still there. My 1 3/4 inch mark is still on that center part. So we do have a perfect block. It was just a little bit harder for my brain. This is why I absolutely love. Oh, we could also use our glow tape if we wanted to. We can give ourselves a few little registration marks. I can take a teeny tiny little piece of that. I can find that 3/4, and I can align my tape on there. So I know that's the mark. I would also put another little piece there. So I never line it up exactly with the mark because I want to see where that is. I want to be able to visually see it, but it is telling me that's the mark that I want to use. So I don't have to be afraid that I'm going to use a different mark. But this is one of the places that my Tucker trimmer is absolutely my favorite ruler because it does the math for me.
I already even sprayed grip on the back for you.
Perfect. Again, remember we talked about that last week. We have the Otiv Grippy non-slip coating. It just gives a little bit of a rough surface, so our rulers that aren't the sticky ones will not slip. Makes life a whole lot easier. So we are squaring up to 3.5. So I am going to use the end that has the half. This is full inches, squaring up to 2, 3, 4. halves, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. So I have my constant diagonal. We did that one already. I have my constant diagonal. Again, I'm leaving it up from the upper right down. I'm going to find the diagonal that's marked with my 3.5. That is the center point. So I am going to align my 3.5 inch on this seam, this one on this seam. I've got square up room. Upper right, bottom left. I still have my diagonals. I'm going to put my 3.5 inch line on the edge. My diagonals are still all lined up. Giving me that perfect square. If you're left-handed, all you're going to do, let's see if I can do this. We are going to put our constant diagonal pointing to the upper left. Again, my constant diagonal on that seam. There's my 3.5 inch. Let's see if I can do this. We're going to square up. I'm going to cheat. I have to use my right hand on that one. I can't cut that way. Okay, so now my perfect corner is in my upper left, flipping it down to my bottom right. I'm going to use my 3.5 inch lines. My diagonal is there. My other diagonal is there. Perfect block, left or right. But I'm going to go back to the right. And we'll square up the rest of our units.
Any other questions while she's squaring up?
I had to laugh. I was quite pleased with my fingers today. I had the grandkids over on the weekend, and we were dyeing Ukrainian Easter eggs.
So move this way a little.
This way?
Yeah, just a little. Just a little. Just that's where you were.
There?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were dyeing Easter eggs, and I looked at my fingers yesterday afternoon, and I had blue fingernails, but they look pretty good today. And I thought, oh yeah, right, for live I'm going to have all these colored fingers, but it washed off pretty good. We had a lot of fun making the Ukrainian Easter eggs. I haven't done that in quite a while. Again, my diagonals. Upper right, bottom left. So by now, you're seeing that making a lot of the blocks, there is a lot of repetition that we're doing. Very similar to the same square up that we do when we use, when we're making half square triangles. But with these wonderful tools that we have in our toolboxes, it just makes our job so much fun. So, so closer to perfect.
I think you missed your corner on that. You've got to.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Good eye, Tiffany. And there we go. So we have a little bit of scrap, but not enough to think that I'm wasting fabric. It's just making my job a whole lot easier. Let's close our blade before we cut ourselves. And we're going to grab our design board and away we go. So just to have it the exact same as the pattern, I'm going to turn it so my purple square is there, but it really truly doesn't matter one way or the other. My 4 corner blocks that are cut to 3.5. I know it doesn't matter one way or the other. It really doesn't matter. No, it really truly doesn't matter. Get back behind the camera. And then we're going to take our combination units. So we're going to take the one and then the opposite one to put for our row. Again, this one goes here.
Nope.
Nope. This one goes here. That one goes there. So we're getting the purple square. Purple square. Purple square. So before we can sew this to unit, we have to sew these 2 little seams. So this will now measure the 6.5 that will fit to that. So I am going to start with that one. The only thing with this is our seams do not lock. It's just the nature of the block. But because we squared them up perfectly with our seams going into the corner, we are going to sew from corner to corner. You can also fold one over. I can feel that that line is butted up perfectly now. I'm going to unfold that and I am going to stick my pin in that seam. Again, I could do the same thing with this one. I'm going to live dangerously and I'm not going to pin this because I'm going straight to the sewing machine. And because of the bulk, it doesn't want to go through. Let's find a helper.
Your purple thing is hiding behind your friction marker.
Thank you. So this is the way I would actually sew this block. I would just leave that piece in there and I will go to my next side, that other seam that I want to sew first. So I just cut that off so we can see. Now, because we've got a lot of bulk there, this might be one of the places that we press open. I think we've talked about it before. I don't like to press a lot, but on certain places, because we've got such a bulk in those corners, this would be a good place to do that. So I am going to press that in a minute. I want this other block, so I'm going to go my iron. I'm going to do both of them at the same time. So I'm just going to start sewing this one. I can sew our center unit together. We might as well do all 4 of these. And I'll get this one. We'll get the hard ones done first. My seam shifted. I just have to fix it. There we go. Throw this back through there. So let's press those open. So when we're pressing open, you have to work from the back. I again like to finger press it a little bit. The seam just wants to get. It's a little fiddly, takes a second. There we go. So I'm just going to put those back in my block where they are to go. And I will sew these like we have previously. This row, this row, this row, and then sew our rows together. At this point here, we want to make sure that that lines up with this seam. So I am going to actually pin match that one. On the back of my unit, I have this little triangle. Are you able to see that? My fabric choices aren't the best here. But you can, where the seam allowance, where the previous seam was, I have the point right there. That should be right at my 1/4 inch. I'm going to align this up at the 1/4 inch mark here. I'm going to wiggle it until my pin is nice and straight. And I'm going to pin that. So that should keep my seam of that point matched up with that other seam. We'll find out how good we did. Whoops. And I'm going to sew this one to here. Those off. Let's peek. Not too bad. I'm happy with that. So our next blocks. And this is the way I always sew my blocks together. I just let that last piece stay in my machine, holding my position.
Your threads, you mean?
My thread, yeah. I can now cut it off, put it where it's supposed to go. Again, I want to find that point of my triangle. If you are having an issue or having a hard time judging your 1/4 inch, just grab yourself a little ruler. Even if you have your magic wand, put the line of our magic wand just to say it's on the outside of our fabric. I'm going to use my friction marker so you can see it. But that is my 1/4 inch. So I am going to put my pin just above that because we want a scant 1/4. We can also just leave that there and take a second pin. Some people like to pin both sides. I'm okay with one.
You have to remember to wash that friction marker over there.
That's right. I'm just going to adjust. It's pulling a little bit, so I want to just adjust my edge. We could always use this seam-align glue on this too, ladies. If that helps us out, let's use it. And our last piece for our bottom strip. Now I forgot to put the darker thread in so you can see it a little bit better. But I don't think that Tiff can zoom in on this, but you can see my seam.
Hold on, so I gotta stay still to get that close.
Yeah.
It's as close as I can get.
Yeah. Probably can't see it very well. But my seam that I just sewed is at the bottom of that little triangle. So when we open it up, we haven't lost a nose. And again, this is a really big lump, so I'm just going to press that one open as well. We're just going to have to live with it. If you knew you wanted a custom quilt in the ditch, I would probably maybe not do it. So we could push it because there's seams there. You know, because I don't know how I'm going to quilt this and I might want to do stitching in the ditch, I am going to actually press the seams away from the center. And we're going to go with that.
Really?
Yeah.
I would press to the center. There's less seams on this side than this side. Sorry to question you.
No, 6 of 1, half a dozen. See, I have a bigger lump that way. Yeah, 6 of 1, half a dozen the other.
Too many seams.
Too many seams. So if you know you're just going to do an overall quilt pattern on the quilt, you could press them open. But because I don't know how I want to quilt this, I am going to press them to the side. There's a lot of debate about that. I think we've talked about that before. Again, so because I press these out, I want to press these in. So actually, Tiffany, I think your idea would have been a little bit better because with this row, if we press out, we have no seams at all. This one, if we're pressing, so this one can go in. I said 6 of 1, half a dozen the other. This is the one that's going to show us which way to press our seams. So these ones I want to go out. So these ones I want to go in. So I am just going to change. That's the student teaching the teacher. And that's also because she's already did the block.
No, mine's not sewed together to this point.
Oh, it's not sewed together to that point?
No. I didn't get that far.
And this one now I'm going to press towards our blocks. With that one. My 1 unit's still in my machine. But I am going to sew this one here. Again, my 1/4 inch point of my triangle with my 1/4 inch seam. Those are the ones.
Try your pins in the bottom.
Try the pins in the bottle? Sure, we'll try the pins in the bottle. Glue this all the way around.
See if you get an even nicer center point.
I think I'm still going to use a pin to match. I'll put my pin in there. My pin in my quarter. Nice thing about the wool pressing mat, it
can pin right to
pins
it.
right into it. I see I'm going in the right direction. Butt that seam. I got a lump there. That one. Alrighty. It's our test. Let's get this one out of the way. The nicest thing about the precision piecing glue, the pins in a bottle, I don't have to worry about a pin here. It's not giving that lump. It's not making things wonky. And sometimes you'll notice that a pin will sort of distort our corner. Our seam is going in the right direction. See how that works. That worked really nicely. You know, I think I like that even better than the pins.
I'm going to zoom in on your point if you don't mind.
No, I'm okay with that. I really like those pins in a bottle. Our precision piece. So why call the pins in a bottle? That's my nickname, but it is called Seam Align Glue. And I think I'm going to use it again.
You didn't iron that piece first.
Which one?
That one.
That one? Oh,
yes.
This seam. Gotcha. This way. It's funny, you know, sometimes, like I was using this a couple years ago, the glue, and we used it an awful lot. And then it sort of went by the wayside. And now that I decided I wanted to show you on the video to use it, how to use it, I'm kind of liking the process again. I think I'm going to use it a lot more than I have been. Okay, here's the part where I want to lick my fingers because my fabric is not sliding. There we go. Tap that. I'm going to line this edge up. I'm sort of straddling my sewing machine here too, so it's a little awkward. And right here. here. Now my pins that I'm using, I love the Clover Silk pins. Bohen actually has a ultra fine pin as well. They're really fine, but they have glass heads. So when I'm doing things like this, I really don't have to be afraid that I am going to melt the pin into my fabric. And my seam is going in the wrong direction here. I felt that. I'm just going to touch this back up. And off I go. Caught on my foot. Our last seam.
Uh-oh, Bev says she messed up her cutting, so she's going to have to restart.
Uh-oh. What did you...
She missed some stuff.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
Again, because my block is all together now, if I want, I can steam this a little bit to make it not lie nice and flat. But for now, moment of truth. We have a center point. We don't have a diagonal line per se, but we can still check our alignment because we have these points that would sort of run in the diagonal. So if I'm squaring this up to 12.5 and I have the large tucker trimmer, my diagonal goes through these 2 points. My 12.5-inch diagonal goes through those 2 points. Where are we here? And that's pretty good. I've stretched it a little bit here. Check that, but I can see that I only have a 1/4 inch of fabric here. So I think I caught that with my iron. So I am just going to moosh that in. I am not going to cut that off. If I tried to square up this edge, I would lose the point of my little square there. So I know that it was my pressing error, not my sewing error. So I am just going to spend a little time and probably a little steam and move that back. And there we have it. I'm okay with that now. That will fit nicely into my next block when I'm sewing. So is there any other final questions? So there is my block. And here is the colors that Tiffany chose. She still has to sew hers together. But I really love those country colors. It'd be great for her brown couch this coming Christmas. So that's your homework, ladies. That's your midterm exam. I want to see those perfect 6.5-inch centers with all those little points. I know you're going to hate me this week. Sorry. It is what it is. We do have to challenge ourselves once in a while. So again, we learned 2 new units. We learned strip piecing and we learned combination units the easy way. Called me and said, Mom, how do I clean the iron? And I said, well, you can at home, right? I said, so use salt, use baking soda, get that glue off the bottom of your iron. Because she had using some steam seam and she ended up touching it and got glue on the bottom of her iron. So she came into the store the other day and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm cleaning my iron. She goes, what are you using? So I also have what's called Iron Off hot iron cleaner. Because she was at home, I never thought to tell her this because she was at home at the time. But this is really wonderful. So you use it on your hot iron. I like taking a piece of flannel and folding it into at least 8 layers because you're going to be using it hot. Squish a little bit of this on there. It's like a toothpaste. And you're just going to rub it on the back of your iron. It's going to smoke a little bit, but it is going to take off all the glue and the residue on the bottom of your iron.
Works way, way better than baking soda.
Yeah.
Way, way quicker.
So, yeah. So I got the, how come you never told me about that the other day? Because she wasn't here. Anyways, if you need to clean that yucky glue off the bottom of your iron because you've touched some kind of fusible something or other, get some Iron Off hot iron cleaner. That's my product placement for today. Is there any other questions?
I don't see any other questions. I was trying
Okay.
to waste time to make sure any questions got a chance to come in.
Yeah, well, we hate missing anybody. If you do have any other questions, remember, don't hesitate to post them to the Facebook group. We check that regularly. So if something comes up, especially as we're doing our piecing. So that's it for this week then, ladies. Happy quilting. Bye now.